And we are live. I'd like to no live thumbnail got me here. Okay, and we are live. Welcome everybody to 21 the podcast. If you haven't tuned in before, this is a podcast where we sit back, chat, and we play blackjack. Now, I don't know if you have tuned into any of the live streams recently, but what I've been doing is a lot of trial and error. I've been trying out like a lot of new stuff, but now I want to get to the errors. And the first error was bringing on my co-host today, Mr. Marcos Morales. Marcos, how you doing, bro?
You know, I told you couldn't do this show without me, bro. That's why you got to have me here.
So me and Marcos have done a few live streams together, and we're gonna try this out. So tonight,
Drew always experiments on me.
What's that?
Drew always experiments on me.
So tonight, Marcos is actually going to be the dealer. That is going to be another change that we have going on tonight. And I am going to be playing on the team of our special guest tonight, Miss Irma, who is Miss Curls and Tom. Okay, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Tombao?
Tumbao.
Tumbao.
Yeah, close enough.
So I was looking that up. What does that actually mean? Because there's a lot of loose definitions of it.
Yeah, so it's basically just swagger in Spanish.
Ah, okay. So I was seeing some actual they were saying it was Puerto Rican and everything like that. So but before I get into that, Irma, go ahead and introduce yourself. So what do you do?
My name is Irma, and I am the client services manager at Dreams Due Process, which is a reproductive rights nonprofit here in Texas, and I am a sex educator where I intertwine abortion and sex ed in one space.
Okay, so covered a lot of ground there. So you're a sex ed instructor, and you do a lot of primary focus on abortion rights here in Texas as well. So
Correct.
the abortion factor. Now, for some of the guests I've had on here before, it's had me acquire a certain type of audience so far. Now, that audience is going to first and foremost. No, what I want them to do is be respectful, because they may not have the same thoughts that Irma does.
First and foremost.
And secondly,
the ladies talking.
Yeah.
Continue.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Marcos. Thank you. But they're gonna have a way different outlook on that. So we're gonna leave that till last. We're gonna leave that part till last. And then we're gonna get into the sex education part of it. Now, another reason that I brought Marcos on today is because we make tons of dick jokes. I mean, it's just what we do. They're good dick jokes.
Dicks are hilarious.
Dicks are pretty funny.
You can't take them serious.
So when we get into the sex portion of it, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of giggles from our end. But first and foremost,
I'm 13 years old. I'm sorry.
First and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to play a hand of blackjack. Now, the reason why I'm on Miss Irma's team is because Irma says she does not know how to play blackjack.
I don't. I feel like there's no swagger there.
No tombao. Did I say it right that time?
No.
Tombao?
Yeah.
Am I saying? I mean, I'm wrecking that, bro. All right, Marcos. So go ahead and deal us our first hand, Marcos.
All right. No whammy. Everybody.
No whammy.
Show the first.
So, hold on. Before, go ahead and show it. We got a jack of spades, which is great. Hold on. Slow down, cool rider. So, Irma,
You just told me the deal.
The entire point of this game, right, is to get closer to 21 than the dealer, right? So we get 2 cards. Now, the first card that we got is a jack of spades, so that means we got 10, right? Okay,
Yes.
Now deal me another card, please, Marcos.
This was the second deal.
And then you got a king of clubs, so that means we have 2 10s, basically. So we have 20, right? Now, Marcos, go ahead and show your card, your first card. Pull a card. Pull the other card. So I'm teaching a dealer too. I thought this would be easier. Okay, go ahead. Flip it. Okay, and he's showing the king of clubs as well.
Hey, I didn't shuffle these, by the way.
So we don't know what his second card is, but I'd say we're pretty close to 21, and unless he has an ace, I think we win here. So
Yes.
I'm gonna say stay. Would you like to stay as well?
Me, yes.
All right, boom. So we're
Stay with
staying.
this.
So go ahead and
All
flip
right.
that second card, bro.
All right. Everybody got their money right? Man.
And he's showing a jack of hearts, so we actually pushed. So this first round we
Tied.
tied.
Everybody keeps their money.
Everybody keeps the money, man. Except Marcos. Man, I really thought this was gonna be easier. So Irma,
We're all learning tonight.
tell me a
Education.
little bit about your sex education. So how do you tie this into everything? How does this go?
So, I went to UT and studied journalism, and my focus was always women's and gender studies. Essentially, I wanted to report on women's and gender issues, and I had a focus in human sexuality as well. And then my first job out of college was being a counselor for an abortion clinic here in Austin. And with that experience, I was able to get my certification to become a birth doula, which is essentially a person who helps someone with birthing at home.
You're a
Just
doula?
yeah, just not your typical going to the hospital situation. And
Right.
then I started my program for sex education, and then I finally finished this past year in November to be a certified sex educator at either a school level or personal/community level.
So, from a few things that me and Marcos have seen on your on some of your social media, like we saw pictures with you with a big purple dildo, like just all types of crazy stuff. So it seems like you take a little bit of a different approach to this.
Well, what approach do y'all know about first?
Hey, let's.
You know what? That's a great question.
Yeah.
Go for it.
We watch all the instructional videos on the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
There's so many.
So, there's so many. Okay, so I am a very, I love to be very open and in your face about sex education, about abortion, and just being radical in that sense of normalizing all of that because it's just another part of the human experience. So I love to talk about media literacy when it comes to pornography and telling our young people that it's an entertainment tool that is used for entertainment. However, that is as far as we should use it. We shouldn't use it as an instructional video. For example, you're not going to learn how to drive a car by watching Fast and Furious. So you're not going
Makes
to learn how
sense.
to have sex
That's a good
by
point.
watching porn.
That's a good point.
But porn should not be shamed. People watching porn should not be a shameful thing. Along with many other things, as y'all may have seen on my social media in regards to using sex toys in one's sexual journey or how you would want to enjoy sex with another person. And all of that is just part of having a healthy sex life.
So who is your typical client when it comes to things like that? Like how are people getting to you for this information? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a weird way to deliver it, I guess.
So far, most people that I have helped, like individuals that I have helped, have been through Instagram DMs. But I also have to like filter a bunch of stuff out because I still
Right.
get weirdos.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, absolutely, all the time. And then I also get emails and requests from folks in the community that work in the nonprofit sector or in the public health sector. And
I think
because
the way I actually meant it. Oh, I'm sorry for cutting you off. But I think the way I who
But you got to
is
do
your-
it anyway.
What's
So
that?
Turnabout's fair play. I did it to you.
So, who is your typical client? Like what type of person do you typically see? I know that's kind of weird too, I guess.
Well, see, So in regards to like folks, it's usually women presenting people. I try to not use gender in my language, but it's
It
mainly
can be
women that
tough
we use.
nowadays too, to not misspeak on gender and misrepresent certain people, especially in the line of work that you're in. I could assume that that's super tough.
It's not tough actually. It's easy for me just because I've probably been doing it for such a long time, and I'm glad that society is moving towards a genderless future where we don't apply gender rules to men, to women, to anyone. Like everyone can just be whatever they want. I appreciate that.
I always, I mean, and I'm not trying to take away from identity or anything, but I always envisioned it as like a series of binary. That there are two definitive versions, but that there's so many infinite versions you can make up by adding or ones here, zeros there, and combinations thereof. It's like an infinite. But I think that there's two sides of it that make an entire rainbow spectrum of identity of human identity, because I think human identity involves more than just gender and sexual identity as well. The, and that's where people get confused, I think, in the gender conversation, is that some people are putting in psychological identity in that as well, and they're not expressing the fact that that also goes along with that. And so people lash out and they go, well, you can't say this or that, but
There's
it's
definitely an attack on the way people just talk.
that's just the way I envision it too.
Yeah.
When I talk about binary too, this is just the picture I have in my head that I make up when I look at everyone around me. And
Well, that's mainly because we were raised in a society where everything is a binary. If we were about like if we were going to be born in like 20 in the next 20 years, we wouldn't be raised in a binary world, so you wouldn't naturally see things as male or female. But because we are in a society where things have always been male or female, and we are not this isn't new, but we technology has allowed information to be on the forefront of everyone's phone, and just be readily available, to be able to put it on everyone's like radar that hey, gender is not binary and has never really been. There is research that a lot of indigenous communities, especially Latin American and South American indigenous communities, never had a binary when it came to gender. There was always a variety of all of them, and it was mainly colonizing people that created the male-female binary from there.
Would it be rude of me to ask you, Irma, how old you are?
No.
that
How
is
old are
rude,
you?
Drew.
That
Actually,
is that is rude. That's
that
I
is one of
grew
those
up knowing
customary
that's rude.
things, actually.
But I have
That's
to
pretty
know
cool.
just for the sake of this conversation.
I'm 28.
28. So, I mean, I'm 30. Marcos is like 56. Uh, but
Close.
but
close.
that's interesting because my initial argument to that would have been, well, yeah, maybe we were conditioned for so long that this is what we believe, but then it's like, we talk about the people that are younger than us, that come up, and now it's like, okay, gender fluidity, all these different terms that they use for it. So it's just it
I
can't
have
be
to
the
address.
conditioning.
I have to address one thing when she was talking about evolving into a genderless society. I gotta go off on a small tangent here, down a rabbit
Here we
hole.
go.
The gray alien theory is that they are future us's who have evolved into this genderless society, because they communicate telepathically, and they come back to visit
Wow.
from a dimensional portal. But they are us. The gray aliens are
So
us
I'm
evolved.
sorry, I barely heard a little bit, but did you say that there's an alien?
No,
Gray
gender-
alien. Gray
yeah,
alien.
the gray aliens, the typical with the almond eye, like alien that crashed in Roswell, New Mexico, or whatever. They're always portrayed as a genderless small being with
Oh,
a giant
right.
head.
Right, because their bodies they're smooth down there. They're like
Yeah,
a
it's
skin doll.
smooth. They don't need that anymore. They've evolved
Or
into
like a
just
Barbie.
a telepathically communicating version of us, and they're coming back to visit. And some people think that's why they're probing butts, because they're like, remember when we used to do this?
Okay. All right. So now it's
I told you,
time for
I
our
went down a
next hand
another
of
rabbit hole.
blackjack. Marcos went
Yes.
way into it. so, all right, Irma.
That's the theory.
Okay, we get the theory, man. Deal the cards. Deal the cards.
All right. I forgot what we were doing here.
And put them like right here so they're on camera.
By the way, shout out to Lil Mayo.
Oh, dude, I love Lil
You remember
Mayo.
Lil Mayo? Yeah,
I love
yeah.
Lil Mayo's Instagram page.
Lil Mayo is...
All right, Irma, hold on. Slow down. So, Irma, we have a King of Diamonds. So, do you remember what
Okay.
that is?
That was a 10.
Boom. All
Right.
right. Next card, Marcos.
For her?
Yes. And then we got a 5 of diamonds. So, any card that has a number on it, it's face value. So, we're looking at 15. And Marcos is showing, go ahead, a Queen of Clubs. So,
Be a tie.
he has one card hidden. Now, under that card could be any of the cards. Now, at maximum, he can have an ace, and then he gets 21. At minimum, he can have a 2 and have 12. We have 15 right now. So the chance of him having a higher card than us is pretty high right now. But we need to get anything lower than a 6. Out of all the cards, we need a 6 or lower. So should we take one more card? Or should we stay here? All right.
This is where the card counting comes in handy, when you know how many lower cards are left in the deck.
What are all those cards over there doing? And we got an 8.
Oh!
So we're looking at 23 and we bust.
Those are the throwaways.
So we
But
lose our first
We were in 15 though.
without going over.
Oh,
I always
gotcha.
leave that part out. I always leave that part out when I'm explaining. When I
Okay.
make my how-to video, I have to make
23.
sure I do that.
That equals 23, so we went over.
Okay, got it.
So I take all the money.
Fucking Marcos.
Here, I'll give you some so you can keep betting. I'll give you a loan.
So Irma,
big.
how would it be rude to ask your relationship status? I keep
No.
trying to tiptoe around Irma for some reason. I don't know why.
There is no reason, foremost, there is no reason to tiptoe around me. If there is something that needs any correction, I will, I always offer a soft, friendly correction to everyone in my life. Now, they come at me with some type of energy that's not like
Right.
friendly. That's when I get rude. But no, I am in a relationship.
So how does your is it speaking of gender fluidity, is it a boyfriend? Is it a
Yeah, it's a boyfriend, but we go by partner.
y'all are partners? Okay. So how does he feel about the sex ed courses and your line of work basically?
He's for it. I think he laughs more than anything. He finds it weird and funny because there are times that I am reviewing a sex toy right now, and I have to create like an Instagram story for it and all of these things. And so I tell him like, hey, don't bother me. I'm about to go check out this sex toy because I have to create a.
So
So I think he just laughs.
do man, this is go ahead, Marcos. I know you have a question. I can tell by your face. you have a
No, I have no questions. I know everything.
I know. I know this. So, like I said, man, with these live streams, I've been dealing with so many technical issues. So, for the viewers that don't know, like Irma can only see me from right here, and I'm consistently looking this way. So, I could just imagine, like, from her end, like, it just seems like I'm just not even like I'm not even paying attention to what she's saying or anything.
I keep wanting to make inappropriate jokes. I'm trying
Just
not to.
fucking make
I'm not
them,
trying
man.
to.
Irma already said she will give us a soft correction.
I was
Irma
thinking-
is super nice.
We were talking about titties earlier, okay? And I was thinking about this story. I think I told this already one time.
But it was titties with D.
With
a
D.
D. So it's like titties.
TIDDIES. The cartoon version.
Yeah.
Cartoon version. And I was hanging out at the coffee shop with my homie, real good friend of mine who was very fluid, and he likes, he's an omnivore. He eats lots of meat and 2 veg, and he was hanging out online with me saying something to the effect of, "Are titties really that cool? I mean, I know they're cool, but are titties really that cool?" And I thought for a second, and I go, "Yeah, yeah, big fan." Just
Titties are fucking
Cannot-
great. Oh,
they're
that
great.
was the whole point. Yeah, earlier whenever. Okay, yeah.
What?
No, we won't because no, because the people that are watching probably have no idea because that was before we even went live. We because so we're lining it up for Irma. Like we knew we were gonna go down this sex talk route,
Sorry.
and we were just like,
right in there.
we were like, Irma, don't be upset. We might make a few like dick jokes and everything like that, and then. And then while I'm talking to Irma, like the Skype
mic didn't
skipped
pick
a little
up.
bit. Yeah, and it didn't pick up that Marcos had said titties, and so we're just talking about dicks. And then next thing you know, Marcos is like, "Yeah, I'm a big fan."
Yeah,
and
you
so,
heard it was dicks.
and so
Yeah,
I had to
big
like
fan.
clear it up. It was like, no, we're not a big fan of dicks. No, I mean, see, and
I
that's
mean,
I don't know.
don't
Depends
know.
on the dick.
I love my
Yeah.
dick. My dick's great.
Hey man,
You know what I love about dicks though? Is that one fucking song that's like my dick just a knife. No, that's
Your
not even
dick
it.
is
No,
like a
that's
little
not even
kid.
it. It's a newer one. It's like picture this. I'm a bag of dicks.
oh yeah, Killer Mike. Picture this: I'm a bag of dicks. Put me to your lips. I will punch your baby
No,
bear.
the reason
and eat shit. That was
a
LP,
good
actually.
segue from that is where I heard that is in Ozark
So ridiculous.
on Netflix. I just recently binged
Yeah.
the shit out of it. It's fucking a dope ass show. Irma, what have you been watching through quarantine?
I actually was gonna say that one has been recommended to me. I haven't started it, but now that you mentioned it, I should start it soon.
It's fucking
I
good.
have oddly been into international shows. So I just finished Caliphate, Freud, and Unorthodox is half international, half American, but Freud is about the psychologist Freud's life.
Yeah.
which
Oh,
is
really?
very cool.
No, that
It
shit's
was
super
really awesome.
fucking interesting.
Yeah, because they kind of make this show like very suspenseful with some scary like sides of like the inner demons and shit. So I thought it was awesome. And then Caliphate is about how a group of girls in Sweden were brainwashed to join ISIS, and they end up getting kidnapped and go and get taken to Iran, and so kind of like that process. And then Unorthodox is about the Orthodox Jewish community in Williamsburg in New York City, and how one girl is just like not down with that shit after
Yeah.
she realizes that being married in a very Orthodox Jewish relationship is very hard because they view sex as only for reproduction, nothing else, no pleasure, no nothing.
Imagine
So
that.
yeah, she ends up running away to Germany, and yeah, which is a great show. So I recommend that one too.
Have you, Marcos? First off, have you finished Tiger King?
I haven't seen the last
Oh my
episode of Tiger
God.
Joe.
Have you watched
They
Tiger
added
King,
a new
Irma?
Tiger Joe episode.
Oh my god, I have not. I feel
What
like I
the
already know what
fuck?
happened because of Twitter.
Oh my God, I swear every fucking show, nobody's finished this shit. I just want to talk about it on here.
It's
By the
hard
time I
to-
talk about it on
No,
here,
go
it's gonna
ahead.
be
Talk about
worthless.
it. Tell us about Tiger Joe.
No.
We know what happens though. She feeds the man to the tiger.
I heard.
Yeah.
That's what I
well,
heard.
that raggedy bitch Carol Baskins, man. She is
Raggedy
a piece of shit.
Dude ends up having like relationships with younger dudes and like drugging them and whatnot. So yeah, I basically know the essence of this show by now.
It's worth the watch though.
That's it.
It's worth 7 episodes.
Yeah, well,
I think so.
Tiger
Well,
Joe's pretty funny sometimes.
His
Well, I
name's
started
Joe Exotic,
Insecure
bro. Don't
yesterday.
disrespect him like that. What'd you say, Irma?
I just started the new season of Insecure yesterday, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna be on that for a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Like, they just they didn't release the whole season. They just released 1 episode, right?
Yeah, just the premiere.
Yeah. No, as soon as I saw that shit it came out, I was just like, yo, like I'm with. So with HBO shit, it really pisses me off because you have to wait for it. Like they make you fucking wait for it, and it's like just release it all right now so I can just fucking sit there and go through it. I want to know the end right fucking now.
What was that show on HBO with Zendaya? Have you seen that?
Euphoria.
Euphoria. Have you guys have you seen this,
Zendaya?
Irma?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was such a beautiful show.
I didn't watch the entire thing.
Oh man, you
Like
missed
I
out.
saw a
don't
couple
know.
of episodes of it, and it seemed.
I knew some
Her
people.
name was
that,
Rue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. See, I remember that. So that's good.
Do y'all know who Zoe Kravitz is?
Fuck
Oh,
yeah, I
yeah.
know.
Hell
Fuck
yeah.
yeah, I know who
What?
Zoe Kravitz is.
She just released a show not so long ago called High Fidelity on Hulu.
Yeah,
too. It's a good
High
one.
Fidelity.
You have to check it out.
I saw. I mean, I watched the old movie with John Cusack, but yeah. So I've been meaning to watch that one. I love that. I love the record store story. I love that, the romantic aspect of it. Nihilism. Nihilism is one of my favorite things that humans have made.
I still don't know. I watched what's it, The Big Lebowski, and I still don't know what nihilism is.
Nihilists, bro. They believe
All
in
right.
nothing.
All
They
right,
believe
man.
in nothing, Drew.
All right, so here we go. We're gonna play our third hand of 21. Let's make sure that Marco still knows how to deal over
By the
here.
way, Primitive Man, most nihilist band out there.
Yeah,
check
that's
him
a
out.
selfless plug,
That's my homies.
and I don't blame you.
That's
for
my
it.
homies in Colorado, where all the legal weed is.
All right, so Irma, we have a 4 of spades. Go ahead.
Okay.
And then we have a queen of diamonds. So we're looking at 14, which isn't great. And Marcos is showing. No, not that card. The other card. A 2 of spades. So we have 14 right now. Now, the last time I said we needed a 6 or lower. This time we need a 7 or lower. And you went for it.
Okay, just because so it's 2 spades. I think we can get something low.
I think we can too. Let's go for it. Hold on, Marcos. Is that a hit, Irma?
Yes.
All right, hit it.
Official hit.
Hit it.
Oh,
And then
you
we
hit it
fucking
too hard.
bust again.
You hit it too
Oh,
hard.
gosh. We got a 10 of hearts, so we're at
Yeah.
24.
Let me give you money so that I
Marco's.
can take it.
It's Marco's. But
Yeah, he's fucking
Hey,
set
he
these
shuffled
damn cards up.
He shuffled them
Like,
before I
this
got
is
here.
bullshit.
This is a setup.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's get down into some more somber. This is what I always do. Like whenever the conversation's going great and it's like everybody's
shit
laughing,
on it?
I just
Yeah,
shit
thanks.
on it. Like I want to bring it back down to reality.
Thanks.
And
Let's
what
talk
we're
about
gonna-
cool shows before you do this.
Yeah, let's talk about cool
another cool
shows.
show.
You know,
What are
we'll
you
talk
doing?
about sex, and then we're gonna talk about what sometimes comes after sex.
Actually, I want to go back to High Fidelity just for the record store aspect, just for a second, because I just bought a
That was
record
a perfect
player.
lead up. You just.
I
ruined.
just, I get this is, bro,
ahead.
dirtcitystudios.com/store. This is a trick I learned from you. I just bought a record player. I got with the times. I hear this is what the kids are doing now. And I bought 300 clear vinyl of my new album, dropping May 15th, dirtcitystudios.com/store.
And that's something that I didn't even say before this as well. I have a special announcement tonight. I forgot to tell anybody about that, but I have a special announcement tonight. So after Irma is done here on the show, we'll probably be going back live for about 15 minutes, and I will release that information. But back to what the fuck I was
what was you
saying.
leading up to? Sorry.
Let's bring this back down.
This
to
message brought to you by.
reality. Get back on track. We're talking about abortion.
I
So,
knew you were doing that. Sure,
So-
it rhymes with.
Shushmortion. It does rhyme with that. So, right before the quarantine of the entire free fucking world started, I was in DC doing something completely different. And then Irma, I think we missed each other by like a day in DC. And Irma was going out there for some pretty important stuff. So, I don't completely understand what was going on, but I know there was a Supreme Court decision or some Supreme Court decisions being made at the time. Could you tell me a little bit about that, and then go back into what exactly is going on with the abortion rights and everything like that in Texas right now?
Yeah. So on March 4th, the Supreme Court heard a case from Louisiana that was basically the legislators of Louisiana wanted to copy a law that passed here in Texas called HB2 in 2010, which essentially shut down over half of the abortion clinics in the state because of new requirements that the legislators were trying to implement in order to regulate abortion. So even though abortion is legal nationally, a lot of anti-abortion politicians try to find ways to limit access to it because that's essentially the only thing they can do since they cannot make it illegal. Then they figure, okay, well, then let's just limit access to it, which is in a way legal, but not always constitutional. So Texas did that, but it was taken to the Supreme Court in 2010, and thankfully we won, where it allowed clinics to open back up without these ridiculous restrictions on abortion providers. Basically, politicians wanted all abortion clinics to be built like hospitals, but none of that is necessary. And it would cost a lot of money and a lot of time in order to get every abortion clinic to look like that or to be like that. And this is all in a nutshell. I'm not, there's
Right.
a whole bunch
Yeah.
of, but this is like the very summarized version of it. And then Louisiana just tried to pass the same thing almost a few years later, and finally it got heard by Supreme Court this past March 4th. But it's just the oral arguments. We should hear a decision this summer. And we all went, several states went to support Louisiana in that situation. Several celebrities were there too. And I was one of the speakers where we talked about why these bans and these restrictions that limit access are actually harmful and unconstitutional, versus trying to, according to people who are anti-abortion, save lives. So in a nutshell, we were basically just saying, like, you are not saving lives by limiting abortion. You're actually putting women in danger, because if they cannot access safe abortion services, that doesn't mean that abortion is going to stop happening. That just means that they're going to find other ways to get this abortion, which could essentially harm them and also like harm their lives, because we saw that in the before Roe versus Wade, when it passed in the 70s, we saw how abortion killed a lot of women before that in the 60s and 50s, when politicians made abortion a political issue versus before it wasn't. It was just mainly to gain points with evangelical voters in order to get Nixon the vote to get him into presidency. So it wasn't always a political thing. It became political during that time, and
Right.
then it became something that was already very dangerous. So that's kind of like where we are at now. It was actually a lot easier to get an abortion in the 80s and 90s than it is now for some reason. People are starting to, well, not starting, but people are fighting back in regards to abortion a lot more than before. So that was essentially what happened in Washington, D.C. And currently in Texas, we are always leading in something and not always good things. So, for example, right now, originally it was Ohio and Texas that banned abortion services during COVID-19. Ohio was first, and then Texas came second. Ohio opened up their clinics again after the Supreme Court told them that what they were doing was unconstitutional. So now it's just Texas, and other states like Tennessee are trying to follow suit, but Texas is always at the forefront against abortion. So we actually live in one of the most hostile states. The South is actually just hostile against abortion, period. But Texas has a very strong presence in
Yeah,
politics.
I mean, Texas is classical conservatives. I
Oh,
would think. I
mm-hmm.
mean, at least is a majority of the state. But let me ask you this: can you see, or do you like kind of now what's the word, like empathetic with their view on it as well?
Can I empathize with them?
Yes.
No. I can see. No, because their argument doesn't make sense. They are basically saying that they are saving lives. In their eyes, they are saving the lives of fetuses, um, instead of putting the lives of the people who are already on this planet first.
So
Um,
I'm gonna say this because I could tell Marcos is chomping at the bits over here. I'm gonna say this. I am on absolutely no side. I've been advised not to take a hard stance on anything on this podcast, and the only thing that I have taken a stance on we'll get to after the next hand. But um, I support whatever anybody wants to do as long as it doesn't bother me. That's me personally.
and that's
Now,
exactly the point, though. Like, that's the point of being pro-choice. It's respecting the rights of every individual. And
right.
there is this argument, this anti-abortion argument that, like, well, then if you're trying to respect everyone's rights, why doesn't the fetus have rights? The reason being, in that sense, is because the fetus is not on this planet Earth. And however, if it is up to that person carrying the pregnancy, if it is up to them, it's up to them to figure out what they want to do. It is not up to a politician. It is not up to a boyfriend. It is not up to a partner, a parent, to decide what this human who is pregnant to do with their bodies. Essentially, that is like the basis of what it comes down to. You can be against
Yeah, I agree
having
with that.
abortion. You can be against abortion, but that doesn't mean that you have the right to restrict another person from getting that, even if that's half of your sperm.
Completely agree, 100%. You know, my body, my choice is a mantra we should all practice. But the issues come into play when when you include like public money and like other people who very actively vote on what their money does. That's the hard one fight is that people
Uh,
see their money tied up.
Not go to abortion though.
Ah, right, but this is where this is the perception is what I'm saying. Especially in a state in an area like this is like a hard religious line
Well,
to
and we
toe.
also can't say that
And
the state's money doesn't go to stuff like that because I mean a place like Planned
mean,
Parenthood got $1 rent on their
yeah, they get state
properties
funding
for
for their
like years.
the main office
But
here.
that is not government property. That was their landlord's
No, sure, but I'm
decision.
saying the
But
money. The money is like in taxes for like the valuation of that whole thing. Like this is the perception. Like this is your hard fought battles. If you could find a way to take public money out of the equation, which I know is
Yeah, I mean,
public health is a very real issue. But if you took people with an opinion on the matter, if you didn't involve their money in it, you would disarm them completely. There would be no
that's
argument.
but the argument that is being presented is that people's money is being used for abortion services when it is not. The federal government ruled on that when they said that Medicaid could not cover abortion services. So with that, because of that one small, actually very big decision, but like for that one sentence, that meant that no federal money was allowed to go towards abortion services. Planned Parenthood is an independent organization. They do not take federal money for abortion services. They actually just got cut off from Title X, which is another type of funding that the government gives to clinics for reproductive services, but abortion is not included in those reproductive health services. So there are Title X clinics all over the country, and Title X is the only reproductive health funding that is allowed, and that's only for birth control and pregnancy tests and just stuff of that nature, STI testing for folks who cannot afford it, low income, people who don't have insurance, and that is where people who don't have a specific immigration status in the country are able to go to, and that's essentially the only place that many can go to, because at abortion clinics, Texas has now required everyone to have a valid ID in order to get an abortion. Besides being 18, you also have to have an ID. Just like voting, like there's a whole bunch of rules and regulations that are put into place in order for someone to have an abortion, which is something that should be easily accessible, but it is not. If you're a minor, then you also have to get parental consent, but that doesn't
But it is
release
a
you from.
it is a medical health procedure, and there are already rules for, you know, other types of similar types of procedures in different parts of the body. There are rules that have been applied in those cases, and I'm for it. I'm just trying to look at it from the other side, from the logical side of the anti view,
You
where
can't say that.
no.
You can't say you're
No,
looking
this is
at
the
it from a
reason.
logical side
The
because
law
you're
is
looking at
based
it as
on
the
logic. You have
opposite
to have
side of
logical
someone else.
conclusions to get to the point, so that it'll hold up in court. Because this is essentially a
That's a solid
legal
point as
issue.
well. Huh.
This is a legal issue, and it involves money, and these are all the loose ends that you got to tie up. Because then it just the philosophical part. You're never going to change somebody's mind who's on that hardline religious tip. And even myself, like I'll never vote against public health issues. Like I'm an anarchist, social healthcare minded type person. It's really hard to make
But
sense.
what is sorry, I missed the logic, the after the whole word logical, like I missed what you said because I y'all both started talking.
Oh,
What, and besides the
Well,
public health situation of using the public's money, which
No, well,
again, like I said, the
but
public
yeah.
is not using their money, and insurance doesn't cover it. And the federal government already said that they're not going to cover it. So what would other loose ends be?
The laws about other similar medical procedures in different parts of the body, like less invasive type procedures. There are already regulations out the wazoo for these kinds of things, and in some cases, I guess
what's an example?
the ask is that abortion wouldn't be also regulated by the same stringent stipulations because it's such a delicate issue. And so the access to IDs, to people's consent, this is where this kind of stuff comes into issue, because there are medical liabilities for those companies as well. Like you could destroy the entire ability for people to perform these if you don't follow the regulations, and you get a clinic shut down if people don't stick within those rules. It's a hard fought battle is all I'm saying.
Irma,
It's absolutely a hard fought battle. I've been doing this for years, and we have gone. This is not just me. I work with people who have been fighting this battle for years and have been at the legislative level. We work with the ACLU. We work with different national organizations who. Stephanie Toti is our national attorney who actually stands on the case at the Supreme Court. So this isn't something that I'm a nobody actually, specifically in this battle. I barely have any value. Sorry.
No, yeah, hold on. Scratch all that.
I'm very worthy, but in the grand scheme of things, I am a minor player. But there's so many things that go into this, and because this has been going on for such a long time, it just gives you an idea of yes, medical regulations are important for many reasons, but essentially those regulations, there are regulations that are being put in place just to limit access, and it's a blatant attack on someone's constitutional rights. The Supreme Court said already in the 70s that anyone has the right to privacy when it comes to their body that Roe versus Wade wasn't specific to abortion. It was just the right to privacy. And essentially that meant that it is up to the woman and her doctor and whoever she wants to involve to come up with whatever she wants, to decide whatever they want to do with her, to decide whatever she wants to do with her body. It is not up to the public. It is not up to politicians. And so that is where we end up fighting, because politicians, specifically in this context in Texas, want to meddle in that and be okay, so in order for us to restrict the amount of abortions that are happening, we're going to have to implement an ID rule. We're going to have to implement a parental consent rule, when essentially all of these things are not necessary for an abortion to be safe. For an abortion to be safe, you need to check the doctor's background. You need to check that the abortion clinic is up to par with public health standards and Health and Human Services and safety and all of that. That is what needs to be checked, not personal liabilities in regards to an ID or parental consent. Because at the end of the day, that is just the.
But if you want to get a tattoo, you have to be 18 and show an ID, and that's a very low invasive procedure, but a medical procedure nonetheless, because it's subdermal.
Just as an abortion is, though.
All right, but you have to show an ID is all I'm saying.
Hold on. I'm taking back control of my fucking show here.
Listen. It's getting good. We're getting good.
Do y'all want to keep fucking fighting?
Oh, one more. No. We're not fighting. No, we're not fighting.
No. I don't mean fighting. I'm just saying.
We didn't even get to the philosophical side. This is.
We didn't get into the philosophical side because we can definitely go about this in the more legal.
Well, this is the way this is the motivations. I'm going through the motivations of the other side because I'm definitely, I'll vote for access all day long, but I understand the language to be able to break down the phases of development of the human, to legally be able to label which parts so that you can make the argument in court. But I don't, all the philosophers and all the great doctors and all the great artists through all the ages, all the great religious leaders have all pondered human existence. What is life? All of that, and still not answered throughout our entire recorded human history. Is still one of the things we still talk about. So I just feel like something that magical can't be contained by words, just like I don't think you can put God's words in a book. I think you bind it in a box, you take all the power away from it. So I just think that the potential is much greater than it's given, but I understand the need for the legal language.
Can I ask a question?
Whether or not I agree with it. No,
if you want to go about it in a philosophical way, well, then you also have to take into consideration that not everyone believes in God. So that's the main, first and foremost. Not everyone believes in God. Not everyone believes in a higher being. Not everyone believes that a fetus is a human or a baby or anything like that. Because
the soul is like the deeper.
And that's just and that's cellular. Like you said, that you already know all of that. However, I have definitely to let.
No, go for it.
Drew,
I'm
back.
good. I'm
Go
listening.
Go on.
I'm sitting in the back.
It's more so about the soul for me.
Anti-abortion side, we don't. I have made it my personal commitment, and a lot of people have too, where it's like we're not trying to change your mindset in regards to if you want to make abortion right for you, because that is a very individual decision, and that is a very individual belief. Like if you don't think abortion is right, then yes, but keep it for your personal
for my lifestyle.
Yes, for your
as
own
much as possible.
Use.
Take my precautions as much as possible. I think they should give condoms in the mail like junk mail. I think you should have condoms and pills show up in the mail, and you get to pick through
pills.
Either birth control pills. I know they don't have the mix down right. You have to have
It's definitely because we can be certain of one thing. If it were men who could get pregnant, men would be able to access an abortion at a vending machine.
So that was actually another point I wanted to bring up earlier. Was there's two questions I have, if y'all don't mind. Y'all good? I'm fucking with y'all. No. So one of the points I wanted to bring up earlier was the feminism point, and I was really interested to see how this would go. Talking to a self-proclaimed feminist. Now, the only reason I say that is because in the line of work that me and Marcos are, I wouldn't even say the line of work. I would say who we work for
do stuff for
specifically
ourselves
sometimes.
Too.
Yeah, but we run into feminists that are like extremes, and there's extremes of everything. So I did want to bring up that point that Irma is a feminist, and she is actually not gone crazy with it. Like there are crazy feminists, But this has
I
been
I do want to like reel you back in with that.
all right.
That is that soft calling out of disrespect. You
Okay.
don't say like crazy because that is essentially like
No,
talking
no,
about.
no. I didn't say all feminists are crazy. I'm saying there are crazy feminists.
But that is essentially calling out people who are truly
There's
engaged.
crazy regular people. I'm
But
crazy. I'm just
yes, but
Give me your hand. Give me your hand.
In this
No, no, turn
context,
it over.
like feminists are essentially already viewed as like, oh, these man haters, blah blah blah.
well.
When
That
when
was my entire point. Is that you are showing the right side of feminism.
no, because I hate men. However,
Yikes.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck you,
however,
Drew.
it is essential. Like men are trash, but essentially, if you know that you yourself are not trash, and you are cognizant of the fact that when people say men are trash, they're talking about the patriarchy in and of itself, you can realize, oh yes, as a man, you can be like, yeah, men are trash. Fuck it. I know she ain't talking
Like
about
what? Like traditionally? Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Like if you see your own self worth and everything like that, then, but but I think you kind of missed the. I think you took the wrong part of that sentence, and that was just there's crazy
no,
feminists.
I understand that you're talking about like radical feminists, but I believe that I am
Radical. Okay, yeah, that's actually a better word for it. Yeah.
all of that. But like I guess keep going in regards to like what crazy feminists are you talking about? What do those characteristics look like?
So
There's a video that runs a lot of this lady going around saying, "Oh, I kill my kids." What do you
and
do
I
with kids?
actually I
kill my
shot that
kids."
video. I actually shot that video. So
See, I
there's a lot of time the people that I film are very politically charged and they're pretty right wing. They wouldn't like to be called that, but I mean they lean more
his
right.
crazies on that side too, though. by the
But
way.
no,
Westboro
hold on,
Baptist
hold on,
Church.
hold on. Let me make my point. But the crazies that we see, at least from feminists, are the people that are yelling at me in my face. The women particularly that are yelling at me in my face, telling me that I'm trash and shit like that. Now I get that, we're talking about it, and I want to get your point of view on here, and I'm glad you say it like that, the way that you put it. But the point is that if I'm filming a woman that's like, hell yeah, I kill my babies, or oh no, the one that you're talking about is the one that I was talking about was I was in front of the state house and she said she would kill her baby at 2 years old. Like these,
yeah, then there's that.
and it's just like when the toxic masculinity thing came out, and it was just like people like just hate men directly to their face. And okay, I get traditionally women have not been treated well. I agree with that. I feel like
that has been since the dawn of time.
and I get it. I get it.
That's a lot of hate that we piled up.
At the definition of feminist, I'm a feminist. I love fucking women. I want them. I don't really see the difference. I mean, the patriarchy that you say it is a fucking thing, and we do get paid more than women. There's a lot more men's rights than there are women's rights. I completely get it, but that's not the way that I see it. And of course, it's because I'm not a woman. I don't see it from the other side. But it's just like I forget the entire point of this. I smoked quite a bit.
Stop it.
No. But where were we going with this? Where did this start? The crazy feminist part.
You started with like Irma's a feminist, and like let's talk about the crazy feminist and then the not crazy feminist.
That's where.
And then I softly reeled you in and was like,
did.
you don't say that.
Yeah, don't say that.
Okay, but because so when I'm talking,
It's hard to-
I
it's
started
hard to-
thinking about a different like routes I could go down with it. So
It's hard to
started
be
at radical,
vilified or like villainized, and you're like, I'm on your side, and you just someone
Yeah.
screaming in your face, calling you a piece of shit, and you're
exactly.
like,
And so it's like
you're making everything look bad.
because they're kind of summing it into a thing. If that
But
all
it's
makes sense.
it's the radicals versus radical that really drives up the conversation, because like you got one person saying I'm kill my kids, and the other one over here like
that
don't
word
you dare harm those
is
children.
What actually brought
And
me
it just turns into a
out of
cat
the whole
fight.
thing. Because you were a Bernie supporter, probably still are a Bernie supporter, Irma.
I support Bernie, but I don't.
Would you have voted for Bernie if he?
I probably would have voted for Bernie. I'm a very non-imperialist. So like my views are like way different, but out of the people that we had, yes, Bernie would have probably been my choice.
I don't think they're way different. I think there's these tiny little issues that everybody has to nitpick at. Like not, and I don't want to call everybody nitpick, but it's just like there's very touchy subjects when it comes to politics, and I'm glad we're having this conversation first off, but the wording shouldn't be attacked so much. Like it shouldn't be a thing to where it's like if as soon as you say, like the way you did it, Irma, was perfect. It's like, hold on, let me tell you why I think this about that. But most people aren't willing to have that conversation, and it's gotten to the point to where you can't say anything.
Well, let me tell you why. There are people who are absolutely over it, who are tired of explaining themselves, who are tired of explaining why they have human value, why they should be respected. And these people are mainly women of color, specifically Black women. Black women are one of the most disrespected groups of people on the planet, right. And then along with that goes all women of color. The white women, when they fought for feminism and for like for the right to vote and all of that, they were fighting for their right to vote, not for women of color to vote. They were fighting for them, and in order to be somewhat equal to white men, they didn't care about other women of color. So I 100% am leaving them out of this conversation. I am talking from the experience of a woman of color who comes from an Afro-Latina background and who is from SWAT, Houston, Texas, which is the hood.
Hey, let's go.
So I am coming from a specific context where I am actually a lot more calm in the sense of how I communicate these things. But I do not think that the people that I grew up with who are not able to express themselves in a calm way are any less of value than I am. I think that if they want to get in your face and tell you that you are trash, you probably did something to piss them off.
I don't agree. I do not agree with that. No.
And if you did not, here's the thing. Patriarchy in and of itself, as a woman, especially a woman of color living in a patriarchal world, is hard. You haven't lived it. You haven't been through it.
I'm not disagreeing with that in the slightest. Here's my thing. Okay, and I can tell you have a bit of an anti-establishment mind. So with this entire quarantine, right, we are meant to be shut down in our house, not fucking talk to anybody, not be 6 feet within each other, put your fucking mask on, get the fuck out of here, right? So we're meant to leave everybody the fuck alone, right? So
leave me alone.
So since we're for abortion and everything like that, you know, that's the thing, is like we want everybody to have their own rights. Then, well, god damn it, because it's just like, okay, well, I'm leaving everybody alone. That's how I want to be, but I want to yell at people, so that's how I want to be, so I could do that. This is fucking bullshit.
I mean, did someone yell at you during quarantine?
No, well, no. I've yelled at a couple people.
Then that's not a valid argument. I'm sorry, but God. If someone was yelling at you, so actually in.
This was my whole point behind the quarantine thing was, it's like, why the it doesn't.
So let me say this. I will point out that people who are anti-abortion are still protesting at abortion clinics right now, still to this day, even when quarantine is out there. So if you want to say that feminists are still like not taking the quarantine seriously because they're trying to get an abortion.
What? Who said that? I never said that. I never said that.
It's not what you verbally said, but I'm saying like anti-abortion people are the ones out there right now protesting. And the only times that like quote unquote feminists are out there is if they need to access an essential abortion service. They're literally just going for that. And now as a person who helps minors in Texas get an abortion right now, I don't have a lot of resources to help them in Texas. So I am actually having to help them get out of Texas to get the abortion in a different state.
So how is that going? Because that is a super interesting topic.
Yeah, I am actually like in the process right now of figuring out if I have to go with someone because they can't find like their boyfriend broke up with them because they wanted to have the baby and she wanted the abortion, and so she is literally left alone, like nobody in the world. Her parents are against it, everyone is against it, even her best friends are against it. And if a minor cannot cross state lines by themselves and
Right.
is to get an abortion, it becomes even more harder. So
And in the state of quarantine that the entire world is in,
right
it's
now
adding
we're in
another thing.
a situation of like, okay, for people to get an abortion to travel out of state, if Texas politicians would have left that service uh, still going, people would not have to travel out of state and put their lives at risk in regards of exposing themselves to COVID-19 and still having to get a medical service outside. Because getting an abortion, even though it is safe, you're still getting an abortion. You're still going to get a medical procedure that's probably going to have you a little loopy because of the sedation, and you're probably going to be cramping. And as a man, you don't know how cramps feel, but cramps suck.
That's what I hear.
I don't know. Have you ever getting kicked in the nuts? I
Yeah.
imagine it's a lot shorter of a time, but the intense amount of pain is probably like they probably balance each other out.
So cramps are actually supposed to prepare you for birth. So if you have never given birth and you have seen how birth is intense. So
I seen
getting
it.
kicked in the
I
balls,
seen it 3 times.
like the pain will probably last
Oh
you.
no, you don't know. No,
And
no, you don't know. You have no idea. You have never
the
lived this
balls,
experience. I'm sorry.
balls will probably last you a few minutes versus hours of labor and delivery pain.
No, I don't know. I don't agree. I think getting kicked in the balls is right on par. I think it's pretty awful.
But their vaginas get ripped, dude, during fucking.
I mean, you get kicked in the balls hard enough that sack rips in and the ball falls out a little
I
bit.
knew a guy that was
Like
playing
that
cops and robbers
has
that got
happened.
cut on the top of the chain link and had to get his scrotum.
My cousin
stitched
knows a
back together.
guy whose friend did that to a buddy of his.
Well,
Okay.
well, then we will agree to disagree that we believe that getting kicked in the balls and giving birth are not equal.
I never said that.
You don't know how personally
I'm
my
talking about Marcos.
you personally don't know how my balls are
How
sensitive.
they're set
How
up. The
sensitive
balls are
they are.
set up weird.
Yeah, yeah. I have a different combination of zeros and ones than most people when it comes to their balls.
All right, Irma, I think we're on our fourth hand. Let's go ahead and play this because we have actually kept you a lot longer
I know. I'm
than we
sorry.
imagined.
I'm having a
Oh,
good time.
that's fine. It's been interesting.
So, Marcos, go ahead and deal that first card.
Boom.
And it's a jack of diamonds. So we got 10. And then we
Ooh,
got a
what
queen
is
of
it?
clubs. So we're looking at 20.
Put all the
Okay,
cards up
I'll
front.
leave it at that.
I'll leave it right there. And Marcos is showing a 9. Go ahead and flip your other one. And you got a 4.
I'm
So
gonna
you're showing
hit
13.
because-
You got to hit, dude. You got to go over 20. You're the dealer.
Boom. Oh shit. I thought you had to stop at
That's-
16.
What is
That's
that?
15.
15.
16.
16.
20.
Oh my God. So we tied
Push.
again.
Tie.
All right. So we got one more hand. Irma. Now,
Good job, Irma. We
dude,
tied.
this
Keep
has
your money.
been this is probably the most intense conversation that I've ever had on this show. I'm not even
It
gonna
got
lie. Like,
real.
this is fucking crazy. Now, before we end this, now I'd like to end the abortion topic shortly, very shortly. But I do want to ask, what got you so passionate about the abortion fact?
So I have always been very feminist minded as a like ever since I was born. Like even though I did not have the language to put on what I was feeling growing up, I didn't know the word feminist or feminism existed growing up. I just knew that I didn't like the way I was being treated versus how my brothers were being treated or how like my family was treating me versus men. So I always just naturally had a rage against that. And so I went to college at UT and finally like read about like theory and all of this that dealt with like women's rights, women's issues, social issues that deal with how women get treated. Like feminism is a lot more than equal pay and abortion rights. It
Right.
deals with the microaggressions that women deal with men every day, like from getting catcalled to getting cursed out because they rejected a guy and the guy didn't know how to take rejection.
I get catcalled every once in a while. I don't mind it.
To even getting murdered by a boyfriend or a man in their life because
that took a wrong turn. I shouldn't have made it.
Not by Jeffrey Dahmer though. He liked the dudes.
Because of that ego spin. So like, there's a whole bunch of nicks and knacks that I absolutely loved and wanted to. I guess like that is where I found my passion, and abortion was something that I just kind of fell into whenever I graduated, and I always loved being able to help others. And so being a counselor at an abortion center just kind of like fit that perfect spot for me. And then sex has also just always been an amazing and interesting topic for me.
I love sex.
I've
one of my
always
favorites.
loved psychology and the like academics of everything that deals with sex. Like sex is so much more than just like the penis going into the vagina. Like it is a vast.
Don't tell Drew that. Don't tell Drew that.
But you bringing that up, it's crazy too because you mentioned that Freudian show. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. But Freud was, whenever I was taking psychology in college, like that was one thing that I really dove into. It was like, there's a reason for everything, and it's all at the base of that, which basically is fucking sex.
Have y'all seen the movie about the Kellogg dude related to Freud with Anthony Hopkins?
To Freud?
Yeah. Did you know? This is my point. Kellogg's Kellogg's Flakes.
She knows it.
So the dude who created the Kellogg cereal was actually an anti-masturbation activist. He was like hardcore against masturbation and paid for people's services to like tie their hands so that they wouldn't masturbate and stuff like that. It was really intense.
It's the extreme opposite of my body, my choice. It's like nobody, no choice. But he invented the cornflakes as an anti-masturbatory thing. So when you eat cornflakes, it's supposed to stop you from jerking off.
It's like, what's the plainest thing I could put out?
He didn't know the power of cannabis and cornflakes together overcome.
Put a little bit of sugar on there, some strawberries.
Yeah, rocket's ready to take off,
His
bro.
brother was the one who added the sugar and was like, fuck this, we added sugar.
Spice is where it's at. They get mad because spicy things would make you too, you know what I mean?
Too randy.
Yeah. I like chili peppers, you know what I'm saying?
All right,
that sounded sexual. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounded a little, who knows?
Just the pepperoni nipples.
All right, bro.
That just goes into the conversation about pleasure, which is a whole different other topic, but
We should have done that.
to other types of pleasure, which leads to sexual pleasure.
I'm listening.
I guess we had to do the important stuff
pleasure.
first. Next time we'll talk about the fun stuff.
Yeah, Irma, seriously, I got to get you in studio. Once all this shit is over with, I got to get you in studio. Now, I want to ask one last question before. Let's play this hand, and then I'm going to ask one last question, all right? All right, Marcos.
Last hand.
So we got a 10 of diamonds. Man, we've been getting a lot of 10s over
Oh,
here.
10s, bro.
And an ace.
Oh, my God.
So we got 21 on our last hand of 21 the podcast. So, Irma, going out on a good note.
Yes.
All right, so.
First 21 I've seen on this podcast.
You're fucking lying. Anyways, so this is the question I go to whenever I don't have any questions left. But there's an interesting twist this time because I'm talking to a feminist. A true feminist, is that correct?
I don't think there's such a thing as a true feminist.
You just... Okay.
Different shades of ones and zeros, bro. That's what I'll keep talking about.
Okay.
It makes a beautiful rainbow.
Loose,
makes a big, beautiful rainbow.
I can't say very loose. That's not great. A loosely worded...
That women have a right to do whatever the fuck they want. Okay, keep going.
Okay. So, the question that I've never asked a woman this either on my podcast yet. But Irma, this is a very intense question, and it's a gun to your head type of situation. You ready for this?
Golly.
Tits or ass?
Tits.
I'm with it.
Big fan. Big fan.
I take it back. I think I'm going to go with ass.
And what is
Same
the
for
reason
me.
for switching? Yes.
I think I'm going with ass, mainly because so I am queer, and I think I've had a lot more. Yeah, I've had a lot more fun with ass, and like the boobs, whatever the size the boobs were, like we still made it happen.
Right, exactly. Because like
Everybody loves it.
if there's no tits and a nice ass, get along with it, bro. I'm good with that. I'm good. But
The
I
aesthetics
fucking
are very
love
important.
Titties.
First, that was a hiccup in my programming. I don't know what happened.
Error.
The aesthetics
Irma,
are very important.
I want to say thank you so much for coming on 21 the podcast. I'm sorry we kept you a little over, but this was fucking amazing.
I enjoyed it. Enjoyed talking to Marcos too and going back and forth.
Marco's got the shout out. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all tuning in as well. I'm going to go to break, let Miss Irma go and get back to her life. And I'm going to be coming back shortly with a big announcement. So everybody, this has been 21 the podcast. And that is Miss Irma. And we will see you next time.
Bye.